Last 100 years have Republicans had the presidency, the House, and the Senate at the same time. And so these opportunities have not come along that often for us. And I do think it is the most consequential thing that I've been involved in my time as leader.
On the other hand, you know, some are blaming you for breaking the Senate and for killing democracy, going that far. What about those who have the other view of what you?
Well, they can speak for themselves. There's nothing broken about our democracy. I mean, you've seen it on full display. We've had big arguments over a lot of important things. John Meacham wrote a wonderful book I would recommend to all of you within the last year called The Soul of America. And what he does is, did you read it? No, you should. Yeah, I mean, it takes us through our low points. And one of mine that I would cite because it was the Democrats was Woodrow Wilson debuted Birth of a Nation, the debut in the White House, which led to the resurgence of the Klan in the 1920s here in America. So he kind of goes through the various low points in American history and how we recovered from. The country's going to be just fine. Justice Scalia used to say every 10-horn dictator in the world has a Bill of Rights, but what protects America is the separation of powers. And the geniuses who founded this country assumed that people would do the worst thing. And that's why we have all these different checks and balances in place. So the country's going to be just fine. I think a lot of young people who've not experienced other low points think that whatever problems we're having at any given moment are unique. Listen, this is nowhere near as significant as what was going on in the 60s. We were fighting our way through the whole civil rights issue and coming out in the right place. I'm positive and upbeat about the country. I know everybody isn't right now, but believe me, we're going to be fine.
The New York Times quoted you as saying to President Trump, you were not wavering, didn't want to waver from Brett Kavanaugh. I believe that they quoted you as saying, you're tougher than mule piss, was the quote that New York Times used.
That's strong. Well, let me tell you why I felt strongly about it. Yeah, let me tell you why I felt strongly about it. You had a person's life being destroyed here by unsubstantiated allegations. I thought we owed it to Judge Kavanaugh to vote. He wanted to vote. Imagine what withdrawal would have looked like. It would have looked like conceding the allegations. So I felt like we owed it to him and to the country to work our way through this. And I was always opposed to withdrawal. I'm not suggesting the president was in favor of withdrawal either, but the moment that everybody would have had second thoughts, obviously, was after Dr. Ford testified. She was very credible. And I did talk to the president after that, and my suggestion was, we both agreed she was very credible. My suggestion was that this is halftime. Let's see what it looks like at the end of the game. And after Judge Kavanaugh's testimony, I think everybody felt better about him and about our ability to prevail. And then we ended up having the FBI investigation. And the parameters of the FBI investigation were determined in my office Friday a week ago. I had the Senate Republican members of the Judiciary Committee there, plus Senator Collins and Senator Murkowski. And Senator Murkowski, Senator Collins, and Senator Flake basically agreed among the three of them what they thought the scope of the FBI investigation ought to be. And there were 3 points. Number one, need to be done within a week, because He'd already been investigated 6 times in the course of his public career. Number 2, we needed to talk to anybody that Dr. Ford mentioned. And number 3, Ramirez. We needed to talk to Ramirez and anybody Ramirez mentioned. All of that was done within the 7-day period. And last Thursday, the 3 of them and lots of other members of the Senate of both parties went down and looked at the FBI files. It's one file. The reason those aren't copied is they're not the property of the Senate. They're the property of the executive branch, and it's highly confidential. But everybody who wanted to read the FBI report could, and many did. We stayed in all night Thursday, so anybody who wanted to read the FBI report could. That led to Friday's vote, and 2 of the 3 members who basically defined the scope of the FBI investigation decided to support Judge Kavanaugh because they found the supplemental FBI report, remember number 7, the 7th FBI report, convincing that there was no corroborating evidence.
You have talked about the in-your-face protesters. Are you concerned at all about your security or that of your colleagues?
I'd rather not talk about security publicly, but I think the tactics were very helpful to me in unifying our side. I think there were 2 things that inspired our people to confirm this nominee. 1, presumption of innocence. There was no corroborating evidence. Number 2, the tactics were designed to intimidate. Look, I know the difference between peaceful protesters and people who are trying to get in your face and try to intimidate you and scare you. We've got a few experiences here in Louisville you all have covered. I'm more used to it than most of the rest of my members are not subjected to that kind of thing. So I think those were the 2 things that really helped us succeed. And I think it was an important moment for the country. I know everybody doesn't see it the same way, but that's the way I see it.
Senator, I know you said that you thought Dr. Ford was credible. The president thought she was credible, but President Trump mocked Dr. Ford in one of his speeches. Many people who are sexual assault survivors say that sends a bad message for women across the country. What is your reaction to the president's comments mocking Dr. Ford?
I'm trying to think of how many times you've tried to get me to comment on presidential comments. Good try.
Maybe 3rd, 4th.
I want to make sure I understand about 2020. So 2016, I believe you said we're going to hold this open because it's a presidential election year. We're going to let people decide, give them a chance to vote. And now, is it not correct in saying that, well, since we have a Republican president and a Republican Senate, we could confirm a nominee in 2020? But
I just walked you through that. I'll go through it again.
Yeah, I just want to make...
The tradition going back to the 1880s has been that if a vacancy occurs in a presidential election year and there is a different party in control of the Senate than the presidency, it is not filled. I just walked you through that a minute ago. So we don't know whether there'll be a vacancy in 2020. We don't know at this point who will be in charge of the Senate.
But the key there is that the party is the Senate.
That's been the tradition going back to the 1880s. And do I need to quote Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer again? Yeah, I mean.
And you think that's fair? You think that's?
Look, it's practical. Think about it. There's no chance that an opposition party is going to, in control of the Senate, is going to fill a Supreme Court vacancy occurring in the middle of a presidential election year. And that's why it hadn't happened since the 1880s. I'll take one more if there is one. Lawrence?
This is the greatest thing that you've been, or your most consequential thing you've been involved in. You consider this your greatest victory since your time in the Senate?
Look, I think other people have to make those kind of observations. Obviously, I think the court project has been my #1 project the last 2 years. 2 Supreme Court justices, 26 Circuit Court judges. It's been my #1 priority. And so obviously I feel it's good for the country, the right thing to do, and I do feel good about it.
Have you been inviting Justice Kavanaugh to speak at the McConnell Center anytime soon?
Stay tuned. See you later.
Did you watch the football game, Senator?
Huh?
Did you watch the football game?
Louisville?
Oh, goodness gracious. We're off the record now, right? It reminded me of the Ron Cooper.
Oh, no!
I mean, nobody's filming, right?
They are.
We're still rolling.
I'm done.
Everything's still rolling.
I watch it on TV because I'm
All right, so Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell speaking from Louisville, his home state. Of course, lots of comments on the fallout from this weekend's past confirmation. We've heard a lot from Senator McConnell himself as well as other people on the Hill. And right now we're live in the DC newsroom to bring you all the latest breaking news and live events of today. It's Columbus Day, Monday, October 8th. Some people celebrating it, of course, some people working, some people not. Others, of course, also calling it Indigenous Peoples Day. We have a lot. It runs the gamut today for this Monday holiday. But again, we're going to be focusing really on the fallout from the confirmation from this weekend. But hopefully you caught it. We did stream a majority of it on our Twitter, Fox 5 DC, this weekend. And I'm back here in the hot seat live in the Fox 5 DC newsroom. So we're going to bring you some of the stuff that we have going on live. Right now, nothing really pressing. We are going to tease out the fact that President Trump will be speaking in Orlando later this afternoon. But this morning, he had a few remarks before getting on his plane to Orlando. Here's what he had to say.
Well, we're going to a law enforcement speech and meeting, and he'll be flying. I look forward to being with him. That'll be very nice.
Are you ready?
About Mr. Rosenstein. Well, we'll be talking. We'll be talking on the plane. I actually have a good relationship other than there's been no collusion, so no collusion.
But do you think
But I have a very good relationship.
what are you going to tell him on the plane?
Mr. President,
So what are you going to tell him on the plane?
I thought the way they behaved was absolutely atrocious. I've never seen anything like it. From the leaks of important documents to the statements they made, to watching a Blumenthal who was a fraudster when it came to Vietnam and what he did was horrible. I thought that the way they conducted themselves, the way they dealt with a high-level brilliant, going to be a great justice system, the way they still tortured him and his family, I thought it was a disgrace. I thought it was one of the most disgraceful performances I've ever seen. Some Democrats are talking about initiating investigations, potential impeachment proceedings against Justice Kavanaugh if they win the House in November. What do you say? So I've been hearing that now they're thinking about impeaching a brilliant jurist, a man that did nothing wrong, a man that was caught up in a hoax that was set up by the Democrats, using the Democrat lawyers, and now they want to impeach him. I've heard this from many people. I think it's an insult to the American public. And I think you're going to see a lot of things happen on November 6th that would not have happened before. Mr. President, the American public has seen this charade, has seen this dishonesty by the Democrats. And when you mention impeach a justice of the United States Supreme Court, who was a top scholar, top student, top intellect, and who did nothing wrong, and there was no corroboration of any kind, and went to 7 FBI investigations, had nothing to do with any of this stuff. I mean, you had the last one. Take a look at the last one. The things they said about him, I don't even think he ever heard of the word. It was all made up, it was fabricated, and it's a disgrace. And I think it's going to really show you something come November 6th.
Are you ready?
I don't hear you. I think a lot of Democrats are going to vote Republican because I have many friends that are Democrats. The main base of the Democrats has shifted so far left that we'll end up being Venezuela. This country would end up being Venezuela. I think a lot of Democrats are going to be voting Republican.
Mr. President, are you worried that I would look at your taxes?
Very well done.
Are you worried that
Look, I'm traveling with Rod. I didn't know Rod before, but I got to know him, and I get along very well with him.
The midterms are just a month away, and after a brutal fight that left both sides bruised and angry, both Republicans and Democrats say their voters are ready to render their own verdicts on Justice Brett Kavanaugh. After protesters made their last stand on the steps of the U.S. Capitol Saturday, some were already looking ahead to November. After it all died down, a quiet swearing-in ceremony took place for the Supreme Court's newest justice. But tonight at the White House, President Trump will stage a much more public ceremony, and both sides agree it will lay out the stakes for next month's midterms.
Our base is completely energized right now, and the Kavanaugh hearings has just highlighted how important this election is for them.
I'm focused like a laser beam on the elections because all these angry people out there, they know that it is the people who are sitting in the Senate that they've elected who are making these decisions, and they're going to go to the polls and they're going to vote differently.
Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi sent a letter to fellow Democrats imploring them. "We must not agonize, we must organize," she wrote. "People must vote." And analysts say it looks like they will, with more than 4 out of 5 registered voters calling the midterms very important, according to one recent poll.
Republican intensity has come to meet Democrats, but not because Democrats went down. Everybody's up. All the numbers are up. The intensity is huge.
Whether that intensity on display for weeks in Washington translates into midterm votes remains to be seen, but the Senate's top Republican likes his chances.
So as unpleasant as it's been worth it. They made a tactical mistake that really helped me unify my conference and turn on the Republican base going into the election. Maybe I ought to say thank you.
Now, today is Columbus Day, a federal holiday, so Justice Kavanaugh will take the bench tomorrow and begin hearing his first cases. Meanwhile, we will see Justice Kavanaugh tonight at the White House at 7 p.m. Eastern. In Washington, I'm Griff Jenkins, Fox News.
A massive police response for a car accident that left 20 people dead. Officials near Albany, New York say a stretched limo blew through a stop sign at the end of a highway. It crashed into an SUV parked outside a grocery store, then ran down into an embankment. The 2001 Ford Excursion was packed with adults headed to a 30th birthday party. All 18 inside the limo died, including the driver and 4 sisters.
They do anything for you, and they were very close to each other, and they loved their family.
Many of the victims were couples in their 30s and had recently gotten married.
One has 2 little children, and one has 1 child, and they now have no home or no parents.
2 bystanders in the Apple Barrel Country Store were also killed.
2 tractor trailers have gone down the hill before and actually have come across the parking lot into the field in the back here during store hours when somebody could have been killed.
Investigators with the National Transportation Safety Board plan to be at the scene through midweek. They'll be recreating the accident and looking at more than just the vehicles involved.
We look at the roadway, we look at survival factors, we look at the condition of the drivers, the licensing of the drivers, we look at the operator itself, the company. We look at everything.
This is the country's deadliest transportation accident since 2009, when a passenger flight crashed into a house near Buffalo, killing 50 people. In New York, Lauren Green, Fox News. Just a few weeks after Hurricane Florence barreled into the Carolinas, here comes Michael headed toward Florida.
Storms like Michael can be absolutely devastating and life-threatening, and that's why we all have to take this very seriously.
The system rapidly formed off Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. It quickly strengthened into a tropical storm and is pegged to become a hurricane by Tuesday. Florida Governor Rick Scott says Michael could strike the Panhandle as a Category 2.
The Panhandle and Big Bend could see winds in excess of 100 miles per hour.
Forecasters are holding off predicting what other parts of the Gulf could be impacted, but Governor Scott is bracing for the worst. A state of emergency has already been declared for many Florida counties. Hundreds of National Guardsmen have been activated. Affected areas could see significant rainfall along with powerful storm surges.
You cannot hide from storm surge, so get prepared and get out if an evacuation is ordered.
Tornadoes are also possible on the eastern end of the storm. Michael has the potential to hit the same areas damaged by Hurricane Hermine just 2 years ago. That storm damaged hundreds of homes and cost the state tens of millions of dollars. Governor Scott promises residents and out-of-towners will be the top priority.
There is nothing that our state will not do to make sure that every family and visitor in Florida is prepared for any possible impact from this storm.
FEMA will be on the ground in Florida Monday, along with Homeland Security, the Army Corps of Engineers, and the EPA. Lauren Green, Fox News.
Rowdy isn't your typical police dog.
He got his name for a reason.
He likes to pull and sniff.
He never behaves.
But Friday, that's just what search crews needed. Rowdy's handler, Corporal Stacy Bostwick, says bloodhounds can track longer and farther than other police dogs.
Bloodhounds track by articles. If you have an article so they can take a sniff of, they can track a little bit better.
As soon as Rowdy got a sniff of a coat Wallace left behind,
I could tell immediately we was onto something. He was pulling me right through. Matter of fact, he went head first into a American wire fence.
Corporal Bostwick and Sheriff Monty Ballou went a little past the hot zone and set up in deer stands in the area Rowdy tracked to, just in case.
We saw the suspect enter the field right in here and was coming directly at us. And when we saw that subject, basically our training just kicked in, a huge adrenaline dump.
They yelled to Wallace, telling him who they were and to drop his weapon. They say Wallace started to obey and then dodged behind a tree. Eventually, he surrendered.
Pretty cool to be at work and bag a top 10 wanted felon in the state of Tennessee from a deer stand.
And Rowdy has a nice reward waiting for him at home.
I heard he's been bought a steak.
Celebrating a good outcome after a week of tireless work.
Hillsborough deputies unloaded gun after gun after gun on Saturday for their first gun swap event since 2013.
Last time we broke a national record, it was 2,541 guns. So I think that shows the climate's right, that people have that gun. Maybe they inherited it. Well, for whatever reason, they don't want it.
No ID needed and no questions asked. Deputies unloaded the firearms from the vehicles and handed the owners $50 in cash and a pair of Rays tickets.
This is the money. And this ticket.
Are you going to go to the game?
Yes.
Evelina Gaskins has been trying to get rid of her gun for years and wanted to do it responsibly.
My name is on it, and if somebody else get it and use it, then it's going to come back to me. So this way I'm done with it.
Gun owners were lining up so early that deputies opened up the event 20 minutes before the scheduled start time just to accommodate the crowd.
We had eight to turn in.
Dan and Marna Tracy own a gun store. They collected unwanted or unused guns from their customers and handed them over to the deputies.
If you don't dispose of them properly, somebody will get a hold of them and try to use them, and they could hurt themselves or hurt somebody else with them.
The guns turned over to the sheriff's office will be destroyed after deputies check to see if they're stolen or if they were involved in any crimes.
Last one we did, we have 15 that were stolen. So we'll return those back to the owner. Other than that, no questions asked, and they will be destroyed.
In Tampa, Mariah Harrison, Fox 13 News.
Oh my goodness. It's not what ATM users expected to see. Whoa! The machine knocked to the ground by a tractor.
Broad daylight,
While our camera was there this afternoon, car after car pulled up with people trying to grab some quick cash.
Well, I was kind of disappointed that, it was like, for my convenience, I have to drive fine out of the ATM.
Overnight, a tractor was used to attempt to break into the ATM at 35th and Tower. Aurora police called here shortly after sunrise. Just take the money or not? They don't know if they took the money. They're still trying to find out. The machine had been severely gashed, tore open.
That safe ain't cracked.
It'll be Todd Brinson's job to replace it.
Looks like they just kind of like stretch wire.
He's got a lot of work to do. Not clear if any money was taken.
They took it out of here, they might be able to, but I mean, who knows?
So scary, very scary. I always come here, get my transaction through ATM, get withdrawals deposit check, but I don't understand. This is very scary.
Police are now checking the bank surveillance video, hoping for clues to solve a case where a drive-through ATM now has a whole new meaning.
It's another fast-flying day at this Utah raceway.
We got Lamborghinis, we got Porsches, we got Audis just racing around everywhere.
It's just insane and they're loud and I don't even need ear covers for the cars.
This is Sebastian.
It's fast and I was like born for fast.
Like most 9-year-old boys,
I've seen this GTR on Instagram before.
Yeah.
Sebastian loves cars.
He just eats, lives, and breathes cars.
But unlike most kids his age, Sebastian faces obstacles.
Sebastian is kind of special. It's called OI, osteogenesis imperfecta.
That's a condition that gives him brittle bones.
I can't even jump that high because my legs aren't that strong enough.
He can be walking right now normal and his bone will break just like that.
Right now, a broken femur has given Sebastian his own set of wheels.
He was walking 5 days ago and now he goes from zero again.
When a local exotic car YouTuber caught wind of this car-crazed 9-year-old,
Sebastian's just like me, loves cars.
He made sure Sebastian went from the stands,
it's gonna be loud out there,
to the front seat.
James said that he invited me to Utah, but I thought it was a joke, so I thought it was like a prank or something.
So now he's trading in these wheels for these.
They're like fast cars and I like fast cars too.
And his condition? It can't slow him down, especially when he's in a fast car.
We always say that we prefer to have a broken bone having fun than just be sitting down.
Just feels normal.
Three years ago, former President Jimmy Carter was diagnosed with cancer.
Now I feel, that's in the hands of God.
An MRI revealed 4 lesions on his brain. Doctors diagnosed it as melanoma. 4 months later, after undergoing a new autoimmune treatment, Carter announced the lesions were gone.
Immunotherapy has probably been the biggest breakthrough we've had in cancer treatment, cancer research over the last decade.
Dr. Mital Patel is an oncologist at the University of Arizona Cancer Center at St. Joseph's Hospital and Medical Center and has used immunotherapy to treat patients.
It's training the immune system to work against the cancer and keep it under control.
Patients are given an IV infusion every 2 to 3 weeks. For most patients, the side effects are minimal, and doctors are now using it as a first-line treatment for some types of cancer.
We know that immunotherapy really works well in patients with melanoma, lung cancers, kidney cancers, a lot of blood cancers, a particular proportion of colon cancers. So it's provided options to patients who had no options.
Patients like former President Jimmy Carter, who 3 years after being diagnosed with melanoma, celebrated his 94th birthday this week. Celeste Rodriguez, Fox 10 News.
Trey Pearson is a senior here at Ben Lomond High School. As a football player, he's used to being in the spotlight. That's why at last week's homecoming dance, he did something to share that spotlight with someone else.
Get in there every play, let's go.
It's not about me. I don't think it's about me at all.
High school produces moments most of us never forget. As a football player at Ben Lomond High School, Trey Pearson has had plenty of those moments. Saturday, at homecoming, he found himself in the spotlight once again.
They said for homecoming king and queen, Trey Pearson and my date.
But Trey decided someone else should enjoy the experience.
They put the crown on my head and I was like, no, I don't deserve this.
What he did next caused the dance hall to erupt with cheers.
I took the crown off my head and I just sat on his head and put my arm around him.
Trey put the crown on fellow senior Nathaniel Fryer, a student with Down syndrome.
Special needs kids deserve a chance and like an opportunity to feel the way we feel and have special moments.
Yeah? Yeah? Yeah, yeah. Just the love that the school gives him. I can't even begin to describe how much that means to me.
Nathaniel's father says this gesture means so much to the family.
I can't even begin to describe.
Last year, Nathaniel lost his mother.
The fact that she's not here to see it, it's just really kind of it just pains me that she missed that, this moment of his life.
This moment of happiness and feeling of belonging helps take away some of that pain.
Just that small act of kindness will forever be remembered.
Trey says if he could, he'd do it again.
It was just a special moment and a good time for me.
Because there's no greater moment than doing something for someone else.
Just be nice, be a good person, and things will happen, things will fall into place.
And Trey tells me he hopes to play college football next season. He definitely has the leadership skills that so many college coaches are after. In Ogden, John Franke, Fox 13 News, Utah.
"900 teams, 10 miles, and an iconic backdrop for military members, civilians, and wounded warriors, all here for the 34th annual Army 10 Miler.
Me and my dog are supporting my girlfriend.
I am here today representing Team Red, White, and Blue, which is a veteran service organization that enriches the lives of veterans through physical and social activities. I'm the boot camp instructor for the Washington, D.C. chapter, and we have Eagles from across the nation joining us here today. It's a ton of energy, obviously a lot of excitement on the sidelines, but there's a lot of excitement when you're on that race course, standing next to runners. A lot of people getting to know one another out there and helping each other through the course. It's just a great way to meet new people as well.
We met Arlington resident Gretchen Upgard cheering on the sideline at Independence and 14th Avenues in Southwest, one of several roads closed to the public during Sunday morning's race. It's one that's raised more than $7 million since 1985 for Army family, morale, welfare, and recreation programs. This year, organizers introduced a new course described as faster and less congested. John Glatrube is visiting from Denmark.
Looks like people is having a party, basically. So weather is fantastic, excellent for running, so should be a fantastic day.
Unity was the message here among runners, supporters, and those passing by. And it comes at a time when it's needed the most.
This may be the inaugural season for the Minnesota Whitecaps, but they came out to make Minnesota proud, making quite the statement against the league's defending champions.
Thank you.
High anticipation for a historic puck drop.
It's amazing, coming to see the first game of a season, ever.
In front of a sold-out crowd at TRIA, home ice for the Minnesota Whitecaps. The state's first ever women's professional hockey team made up largely of Minnesotans.
Something you can only dream of, and it was pretty special to actually have it come true today.
Fresh faces pressed up against the glass to capture a piece of history.
Yeah, I want to play with them right now. Yeah, I know. I want to jump out on the ice, and if they're losing, I just want to help them win.
A warm welcome punctuated by crisp, aggressive play.
Minnesota Nice is off the ice, on the ice. Minnesota top, I'd say.
Fans hanging
let's go.
On every moment, every play, inspiring the next generation along the way.
It makes me want to play when I grow up.
Seeing it actually happen is another step for women's rights, and just seeing it happen and seeing that I could possibly be this.
Leaving an impression beyond just a game.
They have something to strive for, and I think that's probably the coolest thing in all of this is that little girls now can dream to play professional hockey.
Listen to the Beatles singing back in the USSR. Yeah, she's going around the world tonight, but she ain't leaving here. She's just gonna meet her boyfriend down at the street fair. And it's a French kiss, Italian ice, Spanish moss in the moonlight, just another American Saturday night. There's a big toga party tonight down at Delta Chi. They got Canadian bacon on their pizza pie. They got a cooler full of cold Coronas and Amstel Light. It's like we're all living in a big old cup. Just fire up the blender, mix it all up. It's a French kiss, Italian ice, margaritas in the moonlight, just another American Saturday night. You know everywhere has something they're known for, although usually it washes up on our shores. My great-great-great-granddaddy stepped off of that ship. I bet he never ever dreamed we'd have all this. washes up on our shores. Little Italy and Chinatown, sitting there side by side. Live from New York, it's a French kiss, Italian ice, Spanish moss in the moonlight. Just another American, just another American. It's just another American Saturday night.
I hear people talking bad about the way we have to live here in this country. Harping on the wars we fight, griping about the way things ought to be. And I don't mind them switching sides and standing up for things they believe in. But when they're running down our country, they're
just west of 51st Avenue. Now I'm a block north. This is Almeria. And if you look over to the left, there's a Volkswagen Bug with yellow trim. That's the car that the two people that were involved in that officer-involved shooting sped off in, and it ended up just a block away, really just right across the street, basically. Now, the officer that was involved in this had minor injuries and was treated. We got a shot of him in the back of an ambulance, so he's going to be okay. The lady that lives in front of that house, she came over and she said, hey, there's a yellow Volkswagen in front of my driveway. Whose is this? Was saying something to the cops. They're like, hey, that's the yellow Volkswagen we're looking for. So the neighbor that lives on the corner said, two people got out of that car. Police are looking for a male and a female. They ran up the alley. Right now, Phoenix has their special assignment unit out here and the canine unit out here. They've had guns drawn on that house. There's 5 kids in that house. The oldest is 16 years old. Mom called them and said, hey, stay inside the house till they figure this whole thing out. So right now, again, they're looking for 2 suspects that were involved in this, and it happened just a little less than an hour ago. They're moving us away from this scene, so I'm not going to be able to stay in the same spot. But again, Phoenix Police looking for 2 suspects, a male and a female, in this officer-involved shooting, you guys. Okay.
The midterms are just a month away, and after a brutal fight that left both sides bruised and angry, both Republicans and Democrats say their voters are ready to render their own verdicts on Justice Brett Kavanaugh. After protesters made their last stand on the steps of the U.S. Capitol Saturday, some were already looking ahead to November. After it all died down, a quiet swearing-in ceremony took place for the Supreme Court's newest justice. But tonight at the White House, President Trump will stage a much more public ceremony, and both sides agree it will lay out the stakes for next month's midterms.
Our base is completely energized right now, and the Kavanaugh hearings has just highlighted how important this election is for them.
I'm focused like a laser beam on the elections because all these angry people out there, they know that it is the people who are sitting in the Senate that they've elected who are making these decisions, and they're going to go to the polls and they're going to vote differently.
Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi sent a letter to fellow Democrats imploring them. We must not agonize, we must organize, she wrote. People must vote. And analysts say it looks like they will, with more than 4 out of 5 registered voters calling the midterms very important, according to one recent poll.
Republican intensity has come to meet Democrats, but not because Democrats went down. Everybody's up. All the numbers are up. The intensity is huge.
Whether that intensity on display for weeks in Washington translates into midterm votes remains to be seen, but the Senate's top Republican likes his chances.
So as unpleasant as it's been worth it. They made a tactical mistake that really helped me unify my conference and turn on the Republican base going into the election. Maybe I ought to say thank you.
Now, today is Columbus Day, a federal holiday, so Justice Kavanaugh will take the bench tomorrow and begin hearing his first cases. Meanwhile, we will see Justice Kavanaugh tonight at the White House at 7 p.m. Eastern. In Washington, I'm Griff Jenkins, Fox News.
A massive police response for a car accident that left 20 people dead. Officials near Albany, New York say a stretched limo blew through a stop sign at the end of a highway. It crashed into an SUV parked outside a grocery store, then ran down into an embankment. The 2001 Ford Excursion was packed with adults headed to a 30th birthday party. All 18 inside the limo died, including the driver and 4 sisters.
They do anything for you, and they were very close to each other, and they loved their family.
Many of the victims were couples in their 30s and had recently gotten married.
One has 2 little children, and one has 1 child, and they now have no home or no parents.
2 bystanders in the Apple Barrel Country Store were also killed.
2 tractor trailers have gone down the hill before and actually have come across the parking lot into the field in the back here during store hours when somebody could have been killed.
Investigators with the National Transportation Safety Board plan to be at the scene through midweek. They'll be recreating the accident and looking at more than just the vehicles involved.
We look at the roadway, we look at survival factors, we look at the condition of the drivers, the licensing of the drivers, we look at the operator itself, the company. We look at everything.
This is the country's deadliest transportation accident since 2009, when a passenger flight crashed into a house near Buffalo, killing 50 people. In New York, Lauren Green, Fox News. Just a few weeks after Hurricane Florence barreled into the Carolinas, here comes Michael headed toward Florida.
Storms like Michael can be absolutely devastating and life-threatening, and that's why we all have to take this very seriously.
The system rapidly formed off Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. It quickly strengthened into a tropical storm and is pegged to become a hurricane by Tuesday. Florida Governor Rick Scott says Michael could strike the Panhandle as a Category 2.
The Panhandle and Big Bend could see winds in excess of 100 miles per hour.
Forecasters are holding off predicting what other parts of the Gulf could be impacted, but Governor Scott is bracing for the worst. A state of emergency has already been declared for many Florida counties. Hundreds of National Guardsmen have been activated. Affected areas could see significant rainfall along with powerful storm surges.
You cannot hide from storm surge, so get prepared and get out if an evacuation is ordered.
Tornadoes are also possible on the eastern end of the storm. Michael has the potential to hit the same areas damaged by Hurricane Hermine just 2 years ago. That storm damaged hundreds of homes and cost the state tens of millions of dollars. Governor Scott promises residents and out-of-towners will be the top priority.
There is nothing that our state will not do to make sure that every family and visitor in Florida is prepared for any possible impact from this storm.
FEMA will be on the ground in Florida Monday, along with Homeland Security, the Army Corps of Engineers, and the EPA. Lauren Green, Fox News.
It pulls a plow across the ground. It sends up another prayer. He says, Lord, I never complain, I never ask why. Please don't let my dreams run dry. Underneath this Amarillo sky. That hailstorm back in '83 sure did take a toll on his family. He stayed strong and carried on, just like his forehead. On his knees every night he prays, please let my crops and children grow, 'cause that's all he's ever known. He just takes the tractor another round and pulls the plow across the ground and sends up another prayer. He says, Lord, I never complain, I never ask why. Please don't let my dreams run dry. Underneath this Amarillo sky. And he takes the tractor another round, another round, another round. And he takes the tractor another round, another round. He says, I never complain, I never ask why. Please don't let my dreams run dry. Underneath this Amarillo sky. Underneath this Amarillo sky.
I was raised off of Route 3, out past where the blacktop ends. We'd walk to church on Sunday morning, race barefoot back to Johnson's fence. That's where I first saw Mary, on that roadside picking blackberries. That summer I turned a corner in my soul down that red dirt road. It's where I drank my first beer. It's where I found Jesus. Where I wrecked my first car. I tore it all to pieces. I learned the path to heaven is full of sinners and believers. Learned that happiness on earth ain't just for high achievers. I've come to know there's life at both ends of that red dirt road. Her daddy didn't like me much in my shackled up GTO. I'd sneak out in the middle of the night, throw rocks at her bedroom window. We'd turn out the headlights, drive by the moonlight, talk about what the future might hold down that red dirt road. It's where I drank my first beer. It's where I found Jesus. Where I wrecked my first car. I tore it all to pieces. I learned the path to heaven is full of sinners and believers. Learned that happiness on earth ain't just for high achievers. I've come to know there's life at both ends of that red dirt road. I went out into the world, I came back in. I lost Mary, oh, I got her back again. And driving home tonight feels like I found a long lost friend. It's where I drank my first beer. It's where I found Jesus. Where I wrecked my first car. I tore it all to pieces. I learned the path to heaven is full of sinners and believers. Learned that happiness on earth ain't just for high achievers. I've come to know there's life at both ends of that red dirt road. Yes, I've learned, I've come to know there's life at both ends, that red dirt road.
There's a story that my daddy tells religiously, like clockwork every time he sees an opening in a conversation about the way things used to be. I just roll my eyes and make a beeline for the door. I'd always end up starry-eyed, cross-legged on the floor, hanging on to every word. Man, the things I heard. It was harder times and longer days, 5 miles of school uphill both ways. We were cane switch raised, a dirt floor poor. Of course, that was back before the war. Yeah, your uncle and I made quite a pair, flying F-15s through hostile air. He went down, but they missed me by a hair. He'd always stop right there and say, "That's something to be proud of. That's a life you can hang your hat on. That's your chin held high, the tear falls down, gut sucked in, chest stuck out like a small town flag a flying, or a newborn baby crying in the arms of the woman that you love. That's something to be proud of." Son graduating college, that was mama's dream. But I was on my way to anywhere else when I turned 18. 'Cause when you got a fast car, you think you got everything.
If tomorrow all the things were gone I worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife, I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the ones who died, who gave that right to me. And I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and Thank you. My name is Steve Emerson. I'm a friend of Pete Sessions, and that's why I'm here. And I'm guessing that's why you're here also. And here in the United States, we have the opportunity to accomplish great things and to dream great dreams and to do great things. We have the possibility of doing impossible things. Marcus, give me a little more voice if you would, please. To dream the impossible dream. To fight the unbeatable foe. To bear with unbearable sorrow. To run where the brave dare not go, to right the unrightable wrong, to love pure and chaste from afar, to try when your arms are too weary, to reach the unreachable star. This is my quest, to follow that star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far, to fight for the right without question or pause, to be willing to march into hell for a heavenly cause. And I know if I'll only be true to this glorious quest, that my heart will lie peaceful and calm when I'm laid to my rest. And the world will be better for this, that one man scorned and covered with scars still strove with his last ounce of courage to reach the unreachable stars. Oh, and to fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow, to run where the brave dare not go. This is my quest, to follow that star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far, to fight for the right without question or pause, to be willing to march into hell for a heavenly cause. And I know if I'll only be true to this glorious quest, that my heart will lie peaceful and calm when I'm laid to my rest. And the world will be better for this, that one man scorned and covered with scars still strove with his last ounce of courage to reach the unreachable stars.
gets her rocks off. Watching Desperate Housewife, daddy works his ass off, paying for the good life. Kids on the YouTube learning how to be cool, living in a cruel world pays to be a mean girl. That's us, that's right. Gotta love this American ride. Both ends of the ozone burning. Funny how the world keeps turning. Look, Mom, no hands. I love this American ride. Gotta love this American ride. Poor little infamous America stands. She gained 5 pounds and lost her crown. Quick fix, plastic, surgical antidote. Got herself a record deal, can't even sing a note. Plasma getting bigger, Jesus getting smaller. Spill a cup of coffee, make $1 million. Customs caught a thug with an aerosol can. If the shoe don't fit, the fit's gonna hit the shan. That's us, that's right. Gotta love this American ride. Both ends of the ozone burning. Funny how the world keeps turning. Hot dog, hot damn. I love this American ride. Gotta love this American ride. Oh yeah. Na 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 na.
Here. And again, they had the K-9 unit and the special assignment unit. Helicopter's been over here the whole time. Now, the lady that lives in that house, she's had suspects go through that her backyard before. And here's one thing that I just found out earlier, you guys. The thing that might really help Phoenix PD out is that she has a camera security system. So hopefully at some point in time, they'll get that video and they'll know who these suspects are. But right now, the suspect, male and female, are still on the loose. Phoenix PD is looking for them. Okay. I know, squinting and everything.
There's a preacher man in a cowboy shirt where I come from. Where a couple boys fight in the parking lot. No, nobody's gonna call the cops. Where I come from. See that door right there? Man, I swear that it ain't never been locked. And I guarantee that it never will. That old man right there in the rocking chair at the courthouse square, I'll tell you now, he could buy your fancy car with $100 bills. Don't let no slated overalls fool ya. He made his millions without one day of schooling. Where I come from, there's a pickup truck with a tailgate down. Where I come from, the pine trees are singing a song of the South. Where I come from, that little white church is gonna have a crowd. Yeah, I'm pretty damn proud. Where I come from. life living off the land. Dirty hands and a clean soul. It breaks his heart seeing foreign cars filled with fuel it isn't ours, and wearing cotton we didn't grow. He's got the red, white, blue flying high on the farm. Semper Fi tattooed on his left arm. Spent a little more in the store for a tag, and the back it says USA. He won't buy nothing that he can't fix. With WD-40 and a Craftsman wrench, he ain't French dust. He's just made in America. He loves his wife, but she's that wife that decorates on the 4th of July, but says every day is Independence Day. She's golden rule, teaches school. Some folks say it isn't cool, but she says the Pledge of Allegiance anyway. He's got the red, white, blue flying high on the farm. Semper Fi tattooed on his left arm. Spent a little more in the store for a tag, and the back it says USA. He won't buy nothing that he can't fix. With WD-40 and a Craftsman wrench, he ain't prejudiced. He's just made in America. Born in a hot land, raised up a family, King James and Uncle Sam. He's got the red, white, blue flying high on the farm. Semper Fi tattooed on his left arm. Spent a little more in the store for a tag, and the back it says USA. Won't buy nothing that he can't fix. With WD-40 and a Craftsman wrench, he ain't prejudiced. He's just made in America. Made in America. Made in America. Yeah, my old man's home. There's a for sale sign on a big old rusty tractor. You can't miss it. It's the first thing that you see. Just up the road, a pale blue water tower with I Love Jenny painted in bright green. Hey, that's my Uncle Bill there by the courthouse. He'll be lowering the flag when the sun goes down. And this is my town. Yeah, this is my town. Hey, where I was born, where I was raised, where I keep all my yesterdays. Where I ran off 'cause I got mad and it came to blows with my old man. Where I came back, settled down, was where they put me in the ground. This is my town. Yeah, this is my town. My town. There ain't much going on here since they closed the mill, but that whistle still blows every day at noon. A bunch of us still go down to the diner. I wonder if that interstate's still coming through. But come Sunday morning service at the Church of Christ, well, there ain't an empty seat to be found. And this is my town. Yeah, this is my town. Where I was born, where I was raised, where I keep all my yesterdays. Where I ran off 'cause I got mad and it came to blows with my old man. is sitting right there in our yard. The county came and took that water tower, and that's Jenny with a baby in the car. Ah, we're off to Sunday service at the Church of Christ, and if we want to see, we better leave right now. And maybe later, me and Otero will show you around our town. Yeah, this is my town. Yeah, where I was born, where I was raised, where I keep all my yesterdays, where I ran off 'cause I got mad and I came to blows with my old man. I came back, settled down, that's where they put me in the ground. This is my town. Hey, this is my town. This is my town. My town. My town. This is my town. My town. Well, I was born in a small town, and I live in a small town. Papa died in a small town, oh, small communities. All my friends live in a small town. My parents live in the same small town. My job is a small town, provides little opportunity. Educated in a small town, taught to fear Jesus in a small town. Used to daydream in that small town. Another boring romantic, that's me. But I've seen it all in a small town. Had myself a ball in a small town. Met an LA dollar, brought him to this small town. That small town, just like me. No, I cannot forget from where it is that I come from. I cannot forget the people who love me. Yeah, I can be myself here in this small town, and people let me be just what I want to be.
One, two, three, 1, 2, 3. All right, how's this working?
There we go. There we go. Is it a good day to be a Republican in Texas or what? Man, just a couple of things. First of all, other than being, say, vice president or 32nd district congressman, I got a very cool gig. I do a talk show on the radio. Mark Davis from 660 AM The Answer. God bless y'all. Thank you. But first, some thanks for some things that have already happened here. How about the incredible vocal talents of Mr. Steve Emerson? How about that? Wow! That was tremendous. And we're going to have some folks up here to do the pledge, and then we're going to have some very, very special words delivered to you from this very, very spot. How great is it on any day, but how great is it today in particular after this weekend to have Vice President Mike Pence in the house? What a weekend. And as he sat there up there at the lectern, up there at the chair of the Senate, ready to break the tie in case we needed it, but we didn't need it. But we apparently did need people with straitjackets to get those screaming memes out of the room. And Vice President Pence just tried to restore order, and he did it, and he spoke those words that 50-48, that the nomination of Judge Brett M. Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court is approved by the United States Senate. And so what an incredible honor to have Vice President Pence here. But you know what? As I finish up here and we get on to the pledge and the program, I want to talk to you about my friend Pete Sessions. Pete is a guy I've known for a very long time. I've been doing talk shows, since my return to my native Texas in 1994. And it wasn't long after that Pete decided to run for Congress. And ever since then, I have seen him grow. I have seen his task improve. I have seen his devotion to this district. I've seen the things that he brings to the agenda in Congress. I've seen his leadership, not just in the Rules Committee, but there at the NRCC, where it was responsible for the 2010 turnover and the taking of the gavel away from Nancy Pelosi's hands and into Republican hands. That was Pete Sessions. And now we face a challenge. Are we going to let Colin Allred be the next congressman from this district from 32? That's not going to happen. Are we going to let Beto O'Rourke become a United States Senator? That's not going to happen. But I've said it on the show, and I'll say it here. Ted Cruz and Pete are going to win. But I don't want just this, oh, well, look how close that was. That will energize the left. We got to take this blue wave, this stupid blue wave concept, and build a giant red beachfront so that it never reaches the shore. And part of that is getting out there and voting for Ted, and so that everybody can take all those Beto yard signs and just stick them on a dorm room for some nostalgia in years to come, and so that Pete can return to exactly where he needs to be, continued, loyal, and magnificent service in the 32nd District. So God bless the Vice President. God bless Pete. God bless Texas. God bless America. It is great to be here. And now let's honor America, and let's say our words of prayer, and let's do them first, beginning with our invocation. He's a wonderful gentleman. I've had the great joy of meeting him and his wife. Please join me in welcoming Senior Pastor of Watermark Church, Todd Wagner.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, they have asked me to pray. This is going to be the most useful thing we do and the least partisan. Because I happen to be a follower of Christ. I'm a steward of the mysteries of Christ and a servant of His Word. And I know many of you in this room as well are. And so what I want to do, the Scriptures say that we shouldn't assume that we're going to be heard because of our many words and our meaningless repetition. I am not one for ceremonial prayer, because my King doesn't really care much about ceremonial prayer. But the Scripture says the effective prayer of a righteous man will accomplish much. And I am a righteous man, not because of anything that I do, but because of who Jesus Christ is and what He's done for me. And so I'm going to boldly with you go before the throne of grace. And so I'm going to lead you in prayer. I'm going to let you pray. And then together we'll continue to listen and consider how Christ would have us serve Him as His citizens in this amazing country. So the Scripture starts by saying, I urge you as a matter of first importance to let your entreaties and prayers and petitions and thanksgiving be for all men. My Lord told me to pray for my enemies. And so what I want you to do is just in a second, just be still. And we're to pray for all men. And I want you to pray for your enemies. I want you to start by thanking God that He lets us, His enemies, become His friends through His provision. If you are a believer in Jesus Christ, you've been reconciled to God through your trust in Him. Let's thank Him for that. And let's pray that we can love others the way that He has loved us. Shall we? Let's pray. Father, it's just hard, even in a room like this when we're trying to individually pray, to get our mind to where we can do that effectively. But hear us, not because of who we are, but because of what we believe you have done for us and who you are. We thank you that you demonstrated your love for us in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. And so I thank you, Father, that gives us the means to come to you boldly. And so we're trying to do what you've taught us to do, because we are fallen, impetuous, often selfish people. We're trying to be conformed to the image of your Son and the way that he loved. And so we do want to pray for our enemies, for those that we see really just fulfilling the job description of those who don't know you. They're just doing what they maybe should do because of who they are. And we pray that your grace would come to them the way it's come to many of us. And that their lives would be marked by love and humility and submission to your will and way. We know that our country is divided, and we're divided because we're not unified into the one thing that will unify all men. And I thank you that you have done much to unify us for that which is good and right and pure and true. And so help those of us who know you to love kindness, to do justice, and to walk humbly with you. Father, we're told not just to pray for all men, but to pray specifically for kings and those that are in authority. And so we stop now. And we just first thank you that we live in a country where congressmen and vice presidents would want to take 5 minutes of an opportunity to speak to their friends, to pray. But Lord, we're going to pray for our leader, our vice president, our congressmen, senators, local leaders, and individual priests and kings and homes. Lord, hear us as we pray. Lord, we pray specifically for our president, our vice president, Congressman Sessions, and other leaders in this room, that they would do nothing from selfishness or empty conceit, but with humility of mind, they would consider others as more important than themselves, that they would not merely look out for their own personal interests, but also for the interest of the others. We ask that our rulers would be ruled by you. And I thank you for specifically Vice President Pence, and that's being his great desire, that he's known as a follower of Christ first. Thank you for Congressman Sessions, who last week in a phone call said, "Tell him a Christian." That is the modifier of the noun congressman in my life. I thank you for that. Help those men and other men and women like them who desire to be your servants to serve well. And then I pray for us as their constituents, that we would lead a quiet life in all godliness and dignity. So Lord, in our final act of prayer, we just pray that you just do a work in our heart, that we would love today, that we would live as you would have us live, that we would contend for truth.
So we are going to stay here with this event with Vice President Mike Pence in Dallas, but we will bring you the president in its entirety. You can see right below my face here in your lower left, the president has arrived in Orlando, where he'll be speaking at the International Association of Police Chiefs, and that's coming up shortly. So we'll take that when that does break in. But for now, they're kind of getting the precursor to the vice president in Dallas, where he is at a congressional rally for Representative Pete Sessions down there in Dallas. So bringing you that live next. Thanks for watching here on Fox 5 Live.
That we would gather to stop and talk to you. And I pray, Lord, that now that the activity of prayer is over, the attitude of prayer would not be. That we would be continually mindful of who you are. That would inform the way we govern ourselves, the way we discuss appropriate disagreements with those who don't understand the kindness of who you are. And that we would do it with gentleness and respect, and that others would see our lives as bright and shining stars in the midst of a dark and perverse generation. Lord, would your goodness prevail in us and through us? Would your gospel go forth? We know that our government was not fit to rule over immoral and unreligious people. And so we thank you that we have an opportunity to further the peace in this land as we walk with you. We love you and we thank you for this time.
In the name of our Lord and Savior, I pray. Amen.
Todd Wagner. Thank you, Todd. And absolutely. An invocation beautifully delivered. Absolutely. And now, we honor the Lord and we honor America. And for that, we have some particularly great guys to show to you. Their names are Michael Wilburn, Philip Wilburn, Eric DeFeo, Dan Seeley, and Jose Guevara. Anything we can do for wounded warriors. Are you with me on a thumbs up for that? Anything we can do for wounded warriors. For our Pledge of Allegiance, you're about to learn a little something about a group called Whiskers for Wounded Warriors, and I think you're about to find out why. The website is whiskersforwoundedwarriors.org, correct? Join me in welcoming them up for our pledge. Ladies and gentlemen, the Whiskers for Wounded Warriors.
Thank you. As we recite the pledge to this great nation, I ask you to just remember all of those that gave the ultimate sacrifice so that we can be here and do what we do. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag as well as our Texas flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, and the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one nation. Thank you.
That's the Whiskers for Wounded Warriors, everybody. And here's Steve Emerson. Let's let him do a few more tunes. God bless.
Marcus, re-cue if you would, please. Shift B. Shift B. And then roll. Shift B. Just do Shift B. There you go. Thank you, bud. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched was so gallantly free, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of Marcus, go right ahead to the next one. Start the next one. I'm going to sing a little bit more if it's okay. I'll try to be good. Marcus, are you going? Start the orchestra. There you go. We are privileged to live in such an amazing country as the United States of America. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of gray, for purple mountain majesty of plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful, for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy code refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. Beautiful for patriot dream that sees beyond the years. Thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining Marcus, do the next one. And then shift in. You may not have thought about it, but this next song is actually a prayer. While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to the land that's free. Let us all be grateful for the land so fair, as we lift our voices in a solemn prayer. That God would bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Sing with me. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountain to the prairie, through the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, Marcus. One more, Marcus. Do the last one. And by the way, turn to the person standing next to you and say, shh. Thank you. Go, Marcus. Shh. There's a song that's also going on.
All right, still awaiting Vice President Mike Pence in Dallas. This is a congressional rally for Representative Pete Sessions down in Dallas, and we will be streaming also President Trump's remarks in Orlando. That's coming up next. So I just want to thank you for staying on with us here on our stream live from our newsroom here in Washington, Fox 5 DC. We're going to go back down. Thanks for being patient with us for this rally, but it is coming up next. And as always, we'll break in with anything else that is pressing or breaking, but we'll go back down to Dallas and then over to Orlando, and that starts up in about a half hour.
Have brought us to this day. What shall be our legacy? What will our children say? Let them say of me, I was one who believed in sharing the blessings I received. Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, America, I gave my best to you. Each generation, from the plains to distant shores, with the gifts that they were given, were determined to give more. Valiant battles fought together, acts of kindness alone. These are the seeds from which America has grown. Let them say of me, I was one who believed in sharing the blessings I received. Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, America, I gave my best to you. For those who think they have nothing to share, who fear in their heart. There is no hero there. Know that quiet acts of dignity are that which fortify the soul of a nation that never dies. Let them say of me, I was one who believed in sharing the blessings I received. Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, America.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the great state of Texas, please welcome Congressman Pete Sessions.
We made it. Today is a beautiful day in Dallas, Texas, the center of what is the economic growth and development of the United States of America, of home of free enterprise, and the opportunity to not only that we have a chance to put our best foot forward, but to have the Vice President of the United States join us in that effort. To each of you, I did not make it in time to introduce Steve Emerson, who is my dear friend who just finished singing. He is America's tenor. He is a very dear friend, and he serves not only us in the United States Capitol every week with services, but he is America's tenor and doing a great job. Steve Emerson, thank you very much. How about that, Mark Davis? We're going to keep selling the fight. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a cultural war that we're engaged in, and we've watched it over the last few weeks, loud and straightforward at your TV in Dallas, Texas, and across the country. We need to stand for making America great again, and we need to stand for making sure that Republicans hold the majority. Dallas, Texas has done more with the economic benefits of the tax cut, and we have shown the world that America is back. $50 billion coming back into the United States of America, creating jobs and opportunity. 47-year low on people filing for unemployment claims. But perhaps the most important part is that we have given people hope and a dream for the future. A hope and a dream where more African Americans, more Hispanics, more women are today working across America, trying to make their life great too. And that is what the Republican Party has. Republican economics are more than enforced, they are selling themselves. Here is Republican economics, where we have a GDP higher than unemployment, a GDP of 4.2% and unemployment of 3.9%. That is our way to sell the fight. So, what you're going to hear our great Vice President today talk about is that his service to this great nation makes a huge difference. Having a Vice President who understands firsthand not only about the morality of this country, because we believe every child matters, But we also understand that our United States military, his son and my son, both serve in the United States Armed Forces. A family that understands firsthand that if America is strong, then that means the world is strong also. And that we must make sure that at a time in a dangerous world that our United States military and our allies are prepared to stand up for freedom and to sell the fight everywhere we go. We have a strong president who deeply believes not only in making America great again, but Americans great again. So if you'll please help me welcome my very dear friend. I used to call him my little brother in Washington because I was his big brother in Congress. When Mike first came to Congress, I was a brand new second-year congressman, and we had a lot in common. We wanted to make sure that not only the America that we believed in, but the people who deserved a great government would get that. Please help me welcome the Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence.
She stood in the street.
Well, hello, Texas. Thank you all for coming out. I'm here for one reason and one reason only, and that is that Texas and America need Pete Sessions back in a renewed Republican majority on Capitol Hill. As Pete just mentioned, we're not just, as they say in Congress, good friends. We're like real friends. I served in Congress for 12 years, and I know this man. And as I told a few people backstage, I'd be here if he was uncontested. Because Pete Sessions is a leader, and we need his leadership back in our nation's capital. And speaking of leaders, I just hung up the phone from a friend of mine who was excited to hear I was in Texas and so many good people came out. So let me bring personal greetings and thanks to all of you from the man that Texas voted overwhelmingly to make the 45th President of the United States of America, President Donald Trump. Isn't he something? I'll tell you what. Greatest honor of my life to serve alongside a president who gets up every day to keep the promises that he made to the people of America. Like last week, we started the week with the largest new trade agreement in American history. The middle of the week, we saw unemployment reach a 50-year low, and on Saturday, we confirmed Justice Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court of the United States. You know, the president said it well on Saturday night. That vote in the Senate that I had the privilege to preside over was a tremendous victory for our nation, our people, and our Constitution. Justice Brett Kavanaugh is a principled jurist who we know will interpret the Constitution as written, and he will uphold all the God-given liberties enshrined there. In fact, there'll be a ceremony tonight in the East Wing of the White House welcoming Justice Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court. But we all know the way some Democrats in the Senate treated Judge Kavanaugh was just terrible. I mean, they threw away basic fairness, due process, the presumption of innocence. But fortunately, the majority in the United States Senate saw their way clear to confirm this good man and this great jurist. And let me take a moment to thank Senator Ted Cruz and Senator John Cornyn for standing strong. But I'm here today, like all of you, because of this great congressman, because of the need to reelect a Republican majority in the House of Representatives. And I want to thank a couple other members of that majority. We're going to talk today about what we've accomplished together over it's just a little bit shy of 2 years since Election Day. It's almost hard to believe all that we've gotten done, but it wouldn't have been possible without the leadership of Congressman Pete Sessions, Congressman Kenny Marchant, who's with us today, Congressman Michael Burgess, who are with us today. Give them all a big round of applause. And I know we've got members of the great Texas legislature who are with us today. I know y'all are going to support them in this election, as well as the re-election of the great Governor Greg Abbott, who's delivering every day for the people of Texas. But I came today because of the man, because of the progress, and because of the choice that the people of Texas face, North Texas face, here in Texas 32. So let me first talk about the man. Pete Sessions was elected to represent North Texas back in 1996. I would arrive in Congress just a couple years later. And frankly, he took me under wing. He really did. From very early on, we bonded because I saw in this man a commitment to conservative principle that wasn't just talked about when he was home. It was lived out on the floor of the Congress every single day. And I'm here to tell you, everything that we have accomplished for our military, for our economy, for the American people and America's standing in the world in the last 2 years, we couldn't have done without the leadership of that majority and the leadership of Congressman Pete Sessions. He's the chairman of what's called the Rules Committee, which means literally he oversees every single bill that moves through the Congress of the United States. So whether it was rolling back regulations or cutting taxes or reforming health care, repealing and replacing Obamacare, every single one of those bills had to pass through the committee that he leads. And he did an incredible job. But you know, he hasn't just been delivering for Texas and for the country as a whole. He's been working with the people of North Texas in mind. I mean, a few years ago, Congressman Sessions single-handedly ensured that more than 100,000 employees of Texas-based American Airlines would be able to keep their retirement plans. That's real results at home. Presbyterian Hospital in Dallas, you all remember when it became the epicenter of the Ebola crisis? It was Pete Sessions that delivered federal resources to reimburse the hospital and stabilize it for years as it became the gold standard of confronting a health care crisis. I mean, the truth is, everything Pete Sessions has done has made the Lone Star State safer, stronger, and more prosperous. And I'm here because Pete Sessions has earned the support of the people of Texas 32 on November the 6th. So it's about the man. It's about a man of principle who's delivered for the American people and delivered for the people of North Texas, but it's also about the progress that we've made. I mean, I got to tell you, when you look at the last 2 years, since Election Day, November of 2016, it's almost hard to believe everything that we've accomplished, Pete. I mean, I think there's only one way you can describe the last couple of years in this country under the leadership of President Donald Trump and this Republican Congress. It's been nearly 2 years of results. It's been nearly 2 years of progress. In a word, it's been nearly 2 years of promises made and promises kept. And we're just getting started, Texas. Think about it. With this majority in the Congress, this president has actually signed more bills rolling back federal red tape than any president in American history already. This president's unleashed American energy. We're now exporting energy like at no time in the history of this country. And just last week, as I mentioned, this president stood strong for American workers and American jobs when we renegotiated NAFTA and created the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement. that'll create jobs in Texas and around America. With the strong support of your congressman and this Republican majority, this president also kept one of the biggest promises that we made to the American people. It was right before Christmas, I'll never forget. And the president called me up, I think it was like 2 days before Christmas. Now, you know, the Congress passes these bills and then they go home to enjoy the Christmas holidays with their families in the new year, right? So we were planning to have a signing ceremony. Remember, Pete? We were going to have a signing ceremony in the east wing of the White House or somewhere. East room of the White House is going to be very nice. But the president called me up 2 days before Christmas. And he said, Mike, I've got this tax cut on my desk. And I said, yes, sir. And he said, well, when are we supposed to sign this? And I said, well, it's when the Congress comes back. You know, they'll all be back in town after their vacation. And then President Trump said to me, he said, but I told the American people that we'd get this done before Christmas. And I said, yes, sir, you did say that. I said, we passed it, so it's, you know, it's done, but it's, you know, it takes your signature to have it done. And he said, well, I'll tell you what, we can invite him over in January, but I'm keeping my promise to the American people, and I'm signing this tax cut right now. And he did it. He delivered it. I mean, really. He's a man of his word. And with this Republican majority, we kept our word to the American people. We cut taxes for working families. You know, the average working family here in Texas is going to save about $2,200 a year when all these tax cuts take effect. We cut taxes on businesses here in Texas so businesses in the Lone Star State can create jobs and compete with businesses anywhere in the world. And if you didn't notice it, we cut out the core of Obamacare. The individual mandate is gone. And the results speak for themselves. Pete was just talking about it a minute ago, but it really is incredible the way the American people and American free enterprise has responded since virtually the day this Congress took effect. I mean, it's amazing. Since Election Day 2016, 4.2 million new jobs created by businesses large and small, including 540,000 jobs right here in Texas. Wow. Unemployment rate hasn't been this low in nearly 50 years. We set a new record, the lowest unemployment ever recorded for African Americans and Hispanic Americans. Women are going to work at a higher rate than any time in decades, and average American income has just set a new record, the highest ever recorded in American history. The American dream is working again for every American family. Now, there's a lot of credit to go around. I give credit to that friend of mine in the Oval Office. I give credit to this Republican majority and all of you that supported us. But you know, some other people are trying to take credit. Did you hear? Former President Barack Obama has been out on the campaign trail. All right? He actually referred to the economic miracle, the economic boom that's underway, saying that it, quote, started under him. Well, I don't think about anybody noticed, right? I mean, when we took over this economy, this American's economy had grown by an average over the last 8 years of less than 2%. It was under 2% economic growth. And last year alone, even before the tax cuts took effect, this economy averaged nearly 3% growth, and in the last quarter, 4.2% economic growth in the most powerful economy on earth. You know, I mean, the truth is this economic boom isn't happening because of the policies of the last administration. It's happening because this president and this Congress have been repealing the failed policies of the last administration, and we're just getting started, Texas. But you know, it's not just all about the economy, although, you know, I know standing here in Texas, in this vibrant economy in this state, it is that epicenter of economic growth in this country. I recognize that, a good Texas pride over here from Pete. But it's really true. Tremendous energy that comes out of this great city and this great state. But we've also been doing other things of even greater importance. You know, I'm the son of a combat veteran who served in Korea, and I'm a proud father of a United States Marine. I really am. And let me tell you, I couldn't be more proud to be vice president to a president who cares so deeply about the men and women of our armed forces and their families. With the strong support of this Congress, this president has signed the largest increase in our national defense since the days of Ronald Reagan. We're rebuilding our military, restoring the arsenal of democracy. And it's not just active duty personnel. With the strong support of this Congress, we're providing the support and the resources and the benefits to our veterans as never before. With Congressman Sessions' support, we have all new accountability in the VA. As the President loves to tout, for the first time ever, we're giving veterans real choice so that veterans will have access to world-class, real-time health care that they earned in the uniform of the United States of America. And as no doubt you'll see on the news tonight, this president and our administration have also been standing without apology with the men and women who serve on the thin blue line of law enforcement. We're giving them the resources and the respect that they deserve every day. You know, there's a lot of members of law enforcement who are with us here today. Would you all mind just letting them know how much you appreciate the job they do, protecting our families every day? The President's going to be speaking in Florida in just a few minutes, and he'll be talking about our commitment to law enforcement and our gratitude to each and every one. Well, the progress that we made also includes not just supporting those who enforce our laws, but we've been enforcing our laws. We've been removing dangerous gang members off of our streets in record numbers. And let me make you a promise. We're going to stand by law enforcement, and that includes the brave men and women of immigration and customs enforcement, also known as ICE. With this Congress and this President, we will never abolish ICE. We will support them and give them the tools they need to enforce our laws. So it's about upholding the law, enforcing our laws, and if you didn't notice, with the strong support of the Congress, we've already started to build that wall on the southern border of the United States. So it's about the man, it's about the progress we've made together, but it's also about the choice. You know, elections are about choices, and boy, the choice couldn't be more clear in this election, men and women. I mean, Pete's opponent, Colin Allred, is almost a polar opposite of Congressman Pete Sessions in every way. Where Congressman Sessions has stood strong with our administration, his opponent actually worked for the Obama administration, supported the big government policies that they advanced that led to the slowest economic recovery since the Great Depression. He's actually, I'm told, bragged about how liberal he is. I don't know, you know, I'm from Indiana, but when I think of North Texas, I don't think liberal. Am I right? I mean, literally, you look at the policies, you know, where Pete Sessions was busy cutting taxes, rolling back red tape, his opponents actually promised to roll back the tax cuts. We got another term for that. That's a tax increase, Texas, and we're not going to let it happen, are we? I mean, literally, he's called for single-payer health care, the so-called Medicare for all, the Bernie Sanders idea that it literally bankrupt the American government. And worst of all, Colin Allred doesn't just stand with Bernie Sanders. If he's elected to a Democrat majority in the Congress, Nancy Pelosi will be Speaker of the House again. Let me tell you something. Pete and I were both there the last time that happened. And you don't want that to happen again. Okay? I'm telling you. I'm just telling you. Am I right? I mean, instead of increasing funding for our military, they were cutting our military. When Nancy Pelosi was in charge the last time, instead of cutting taxes, they were raising taxes. Instead of rolling back big government, they were growing big government every single day. They were walking away from the timeless values that made this country great, strengthen our families. So I got to tell you, we got to decide right here and right now that we're going to re-elect Pete Sessions to Congress and make sure the Democrats are never running the House again. Got to do it. I mean, the choice in this election couldn't be more clear. It's a choice between results and resistance. The choice between a stronger, more prosperous America and a crowd that just seems to want to be in charge so they can manage American decline. Truthfully, it's a choice between prosperity and security and progress. And frankly, it's a choice between a party that is committed to moving our nation forward and a party that's committed to the politics of destruction, to winning at any cost. But the Senate happily rejected this last weekend. That's a choice we face today. But we got our work cut out for us. I'm not going to candy coat it for you. We got our work cut out for us in Texas 23 and really all around the country. I mean, the left with all their Hollywood supporters are plowing millions of dollars into this race, millions of dollars into their effort to take back the Congress of the United States. And you know what? The truth is, for that first midterm election for the party that's in the White House, history teaches that that's a challenging election. I mean, it's been true for our party for every first midterm election in the last 100 years, except for two. I mean, the conventional wisdom says this is going to be a tough year to keep the House. But I think we all know what President Donald Trump thinks of conventional wisdom. We made history in 2016, and we're going to make history again in 2018 when we re-elect a Republican majority with Congressman Pete Sessions. But before I go, number one, let me just say from the bottom of my heart, on behalf of my little family and for this small town guy from southern Indiana, just thank you for the privilege of being your vice president. Hard to describe. Thank you. You know, my grandfather immigrated to this country. He came through Ellis Island. He drove a bus for 40 years in Chicago, Illinois. My dad built a small gas station business in southern Indiana. I pumped gas there when I was growing up to help pay my way through college. You know, the greatest dream of my life was to someday serve in the Congress, represent my hometown. I got to live that for 12 years, and then got to serve my state as governor, but I never imagined that I'd have the privilege that you all in Texas have given me to serve in this role.
Well, the bulk of the remarks there from Vice President Mike Pence, but we'll flip it on over to Orlando, Florida, where Governor of Florida, Rick Scott, is now introducing the president. President Trump speaking at the International Association of Police Chiefs at the Orange County Convention Center in Orlando, and that's up now, so let's go over there.
When a law enforcement officer goes to work, they don't know if they'll come home safely. The least we can do is ensure they do never have to worry about their family, that their family will be taken care of if something happens to them. With us today are two strong Floridians whose husbands have been lost to senseless violence against police. I'd like for you to join me in welcoming Teresa Condit, the wife of fallen Tarpon Springs police officer Charles Condit. Teresa is here with her daughter, Alina. Also, we have Florida Department of Law Enforcement Special Agent Sadia Baxter, wife of fallen Kissimmee police officer Matthew Baxter. In Florida, we made it a top priority to honor our fallen law enforcement and take care of their families. In 2016, we changed state law so that families of fallen officers receive 100% of their loved one's monthly salary for life. This was the right thing to do. Local governments should be following our lead. This year, I was honored to support Teresa Condon in calling for the city of Tarpon Springs to provide the full benefits of her husband's 23 years of law enforcement service. I'm glad that Tarpon Springs agreed to do this and proud that Teresa fought for both her family and for the families of all fallen law enforcement officers. Teresa and Sadia, thank you for everything you've done, and I'm sorry what happened to your family. In Florida, we always stand up for our law enforcement and their families, and today is good that we are not only seeing a complete dedication to law enforcement by states like Florida, but in the actions of our great president. President Trump's unwavering support of law enforcement shows his commitment to making sure that all of you have the support you need to do the difficult work you do each and every day. We have a president who understands the sacrifices America's law enforcement makes each and every day to protect our communities. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. Please spend all your money. And now I'll turn it back over to Chief Lou Deckmer.
And ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to introduce the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Please, thank you very much. You could sit. It's great to be with you. And I want to thank Chief Deckmer for the wonderful introduction and for your lifetime of distinguished service. A very special friend of mine. I'm thrilled to be here in the great state of Florida with the incredible men and women of law enforcement. On behalf of all Americans, I want to express our eternal gratitude for what you do every single day to protect our families, defend our streets, and take down criminals. And what you do is keep America safe, and nobody does it better than you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I also want to thank your amazing families, because you know that without them you couldn't do it. And they're here, and they are indeed fantastic people. So thank you to the families. Appreciate it very much. We are thrilled to be joined today by a true friend of law enforcement, Governor Rick Scott. And I will tell you that Rick has been incredible when it comes to law enforcement. Anytime you need funds from the federal government, he's on the phone. Mr. President, we need more funds. What's it for this time, Rick? It's for law enforcement. And I say, you got him. And speaking of that, oh, you got him. You got them. When law enforcement wants it, and they're reasonable, they want it, and what you do is so incredible. So I just want to say Rick is a tremendous governor, and he is your biggest fan, so thank you very much. And also another one of your big fans, I will tell you that, is Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's with us today. And thank you, Pam. Thank you very much, wherever you may be. She's in this big room someplace. Thank you. Incredible woman. Thank you as well to our Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, for being here. Flew down together. The press wants to know, what did you talk about? But we had a very good talk, I will say it. That became a very big story, actually, folks. We had a good talk. As Hurricane Michael nears landfall, we are working with state and local officials in Florida to take all necessary precautions, and we urge all residents to be prepared and to heed local officials. I told Rick Scott that we are ready for you. We have already briefed FEMA, and FEMA's getting prepared, and it looks like a big one. Can you believe it? It looks like another big one, but we've handled them well. We handle them very well, and that includes the one that just left us in Florida. Never ends, but we're all prepared, and hopefully it won't be as bad as it's looking. It looked to me, a couple of days ago like it was not going to be much, and now it's looking like it could be a very big one, so we're prepared, and good luck. Today, I also want to extend my very special thanks to Orlando Chief John Mina and the entire Orlando Police Department for hosting us in this great city. John, where's John? Thank you, John. Great job. Great city. Safe city, too, John. Thank you very much. Great job. I also want to thank the board of IACP, and congratulations to your incoming president, Chief Paul Sell. Where's Chief? Chief? Good, Chief. I have a lot of respect for the Chief. I know the Chief. That means I guess I have to be here next year, Chief. Is that right? Looking like that, right? That's okay. For you guys, anything I can do, I'll do. Very importantly, I want to recognize our law enforcement partners from around the world who have traveled here to share their experience and to strengthen the vital cooperation that we all practice together. We have great, great cooperation all over the world. We deeply value your friendship and your partnership, and thank you very much for being here. Thank you. This year, we proudly celebrate the 125th anniversary of the International Association of Chiefs of Police. It's a great group. Today, I stand before you as President of the United States to tell you that my administration will always honor, cherish, and support the men and women in blue, and we are proud to do it. Working together, we have achieved extraordinary progress in the fight against violent crime. We understand that reducing crime begins with respecting law enforcement. For too many years, we have watched politicians escalate political attacks on our courageous police officers, and I've never seen it more than over the last few years. It's disgraceful. Politicians who spread this dangerous anti-police sentiment make life easier for criminals and more dangerous for law-abiding citizens. And they also make it more dangerous for police. And it must stop, and it must stop now. Before I took office less than 2 years ago, our nation was experiencing a historic surge in violent crime. In 2015, 2016, additional 128,000 violent crimes were committed nationwide compared to the 2 previous years. That's a tremendous number of additional crime. Over the same period, we witnessed the steepest 2-year consecutive increase in murders, in nearly half a century. But we are turning that tide around very rapidly, as you all know in this room. We are taking back our streets from drug lords, gangs, and crimes. We are being tough, we're being smart. By the end of this year, murders in major cities are estimated to drop by close to 10% from their levels in 2016. And I have directed the Attorney General's office to immediately go to the great city of Chicago to help straighten out the terrible shooting wave. Want to straighten it out fast. There's no reason for what's going on there. I've told them to work with local authorities to try to change the terrible deal the city of Chicago entered into with ACLU, which ties law enforcement's hands, and to strongly consider stop and frisk. It works, and it was meant for problems like Chicago. It was meant for it. Stop and frisk. And Rudy Giuliani, when he was mayor of New York City, had a very strong program of stop and frisk, and it went from an unacceptably dangerous city to one of the safest cities in the country, and I think the safest big city in the country. So it works. It's got to be properly applied, but stop and frisk works. The crime spree is a terrible blight on that city, and we'll do everything possible to get it done. I know the law enforcement people in Chicago, and I know how good they are. They could solve the problem if they were simply allowed to do their job and do their job properly, and that's what they want to do. So, Chicago, we're going to start working with you as of today. Thank you. In the fiscal year 2018, my administration brought charges against more federal firearm defendants and more violent criminals than ever before in the history of our country, and to help former inmates become law-abiding and productive members of society. We are also working on a prison reform bill, very, very big and comprehensive one. And the best thing that could happen, I think we've already done. We have record numbers of jobs right now in the United States. There's never been a time where more people are working in our country than right now. And our unemployment numbers in almost every category are at record lows. They are record lows. African American, best in history. Asian American, best in history. Hispanic American, best in history. We are doing incredibly well as an economy, and that's a great thing when you talk about people coming out of prison unable to get a job, totally unable to get a job. It's a hopeless situation. Now they're getting jobs to a certain extent and to a large extent because we're doing so well. And employers are forced to take people that they maybe wouldn't have done. And some of those employers call me and get back to me. And they say, Mr. President, it's amazing how good these people are. And not all of them, not all of anybody or any category is going to be great, but tremendous response. And these people have been given a second or even in some cases a third shot at it, and they're doing really well. So the economy being so great and the jobs picture being so strong, people are getting an opportunity and they're doing an incredible job. So I just want to thank everybody in law enforcement. I know you agree with me on this. It's a great thing. And in particular, I have to thank the IACP for working with us on this effort and for endorsing important prison reform legislation all over the country. And we're doing federal legislation. But just 2 days ago, the Senate confirmed a supremely qualified nominee who will be a faithful defender of the rule of law. And will defend the United States Constitution, the newest Supreme Court Justice, Brett Kavanaugh. And I will tell you, when I decided on Brett, and we have tremendous talent in our legal system, but I decided on Brett, I said, he's flawless. He's a flawless person. The best student, the best scholar, the great intellect, incredible record over many years, and yet he's a young man. I said, Brett, congratulations. This is going to be a piece of cake getting you confirmed. This is going to be so easy. It should go quickly, nicely. Don't even worry. He was so thankful. He said, Mr. President, this is the greatest honor of my life. United States Supreme Court, the greatest of my life. So I haven't heard him say that again to me, but I think he still believes it. But he's a great person, and it was very, very unfair what happened to him. False charges, false accusations, horrible statements that were totally untrue, that he knew nothing about. Frankly, terms that he probably never heard in his life. He was this, he was that. He never even heard of these terms. It was a disgraceful situation brought about by people that are evil. And he toughed it out. We all toughed it out together. And I have to thank the Republican senators that fought so hard for this, because it wasn't easy. And it was a great honor to be involved in this situation. A lot of people would have said, oh, let's give it up, let's go a different direction. We don't give up. You don't give up. We don't give up. Just don't do it. It's going to be a great Supreme Court justice. Watch. A great one. He will be a great one. We will perform the swearing in tonight at 7 p.m. at the White House. That's very exciting. So I leave here and I go home and I swear in a man who will be a truly great United States Supreme Court Justice. That's going to be my honor. Thank you. And I'm going to tell him about the spontaneous applause before I even finish, you people. Because you knew what I was about to say, but I didn't even say it. And you started before I completed. So that's the kind of, that's all over the country. I'm doing rallies, and people are loving that man and loving that choice. So I think we're all going to be very happy. In order to keep every American safe, we are also making officer safety a top priority. In 2016, an officer was assaulted in America on an average of every 9 minutes. Is this even believable? Last week, 7 officers were shot in Florence, South Carolina, incredible state. 1 was killed. Numerous were really badly injured. Our hearts break for the family of fallen officer Terrence Caraway. We pray for his loved ones and for the officers who are still recovering. When a police officer is assaulted or killed, it is a wound inflicted upon our entire nation. It is. And I have to say this, I don't think you understand one thing, how much our country loves you and the job you do. You don't hear it from them. You don't hear it from them. They don't tell you the real feeling. They don't tell you the true feeling, but I know the true feeling. I know the true feeling. You don't hear it from the media, but I can tell you, I know the feeling, and these people, the people of our country, love you, so I just want you to know it direct. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. I love him too, he's just not my type, I'm sorry. He's not my type. Thank you. One of my very first actions as president was to direct my administration to take all necessary action to protect law enforcement from acts of violence against all of you. We believe that criminals who kill our police officers should immediately, with trial, but rapidly as possible, not 15 years later, 20 years later, get the death penalty. And importantly, we are also making sure you have the equipment you need to do the job. That's why we are allowing local police to access surplus military equipment. And we've been doing this from the very first day of my administration, whereas others didn't want you to have that equipment for very strange reasons. They said it looked too tough, it looked too strong. It's not a good look. You have people shooting at you and they're worried about your look. Someday you'll explain that one to me, please. I don't quite get it. Explain it. This equipment doesn't only protect your lives and safety, it protects the lives and safety of every citizen that you serve. During Hurricane Harvey, surplus military equipment helped rescue more than 9,000 people. We are also taking unprecedented action to help our local police fight the worst drug epidemic in our history, the opioid crisis, which took nearly 50,000 American lives last year. We have secured the most funding in history to give you the tools and resources that you need to hunt down the traffickers, stop these poisonous drugs from coming into our country, and to save American lives. In fact, today I'm announcing another $42.4 million for the high-intensity drug trafficking areas program to attack this epidemic. This grant funding will go to more than 50 innovative projects targeting the greatest drug threats facing the United States. And I will tell you that last year in the budget, this year also, last year we got $6 billion to work on the opioid problem at every level, including helping people, really helping people that are in need of help. Last year, we increased the average federal sentence for drug trafficking to its highest level since 2013. For the first time in years, we are ensuring there are real tough consequences for those who flood our streets with deadly poison. Thanks to your partnership, last year our brave ICE agents seized 1 million pounds of narcotics, including almost 7,000 pounds of heroin, and more than 2,300 pounds of fentanyl, saving thousands upon thousands of American lives. And this year we're way ahead of those numbers. Last year alone, ICE removed nearly 130,000 criminal aliens from our country. And as you know, my competitors don't like that. They don't like that. That's the other thing you're going to have to explain to me someday. Including thousands of vicious gang members and MS-13 predators. They're gone. They're gone. Yet these brave ICE officers have been subjected to shameless attacks by leading members of the Democrat Party, including outrageous calls to abolish ICE. And also, they're not a big help to us in law enforcement. They don't want to give us the kind of funds that you people are requesting. But you're getting them anyway because we're giving them to you. But they fight us at every turn. The Democrats fight us at every single turn, whether it's law enforcement or military. They fight us at every turn, but we win. We condemn the vilification of law enforcement and law enforcement officers. And we stand proudly with the heroes of ICE and Border Patrol and law enforcement in general. We also strongly oppose efforts from politicians to shackle local police departments and prevent them from cooperating with their federal partners. So let's see whether or not Chicago, as an example, locally accepts help. They need it. We'll straighten it out fast. We're going to straighten it out fast. I assume they want to straighten it out. Sometimes I think maybe, is it possible that they don't? But we're going to be there. We're going to try and help them. Every day, these sanctuary city policies force the release of criminal aliens and gang members right back onto our streets, putting innocent civilians at grave risk, many people being killed. I will fight every day for your right to cooperate with federal law enforcement and to protect your communities as you wish. And I know most of you in this room, I think probably everybody in this room, works brilliantly with our federal authorities, and it's our honor to do it, including funding, by the way, including funding. Thank you. Last week, my administration also provided historic levels of funding to improve school safety. Through Stop School Violence grants, we are giving local schools and police departments the resources they need to hire more officers and train more teachers and better detect and address early warning signs of mental illness before it's too late. I've made a lot of strides in the last year. Heavy funding, but you've made a lot of strides. In every action we take, we are defending American safety and treasury. The extraordinary, we're just helping as much as we can, the extraordinary men and women who protect our communities. Here with us today are all 4 nominees for the IACP Police Officer of the Year Award. Officer Taylor Rust serves with the Plano, Texas Police Department. Good place. Where's Taylor? Taylor, where's Taylor? Come on up here, Taylor. Run up here. They'll let you up. Come on up. We'll get all of them up. Come on. A year ago, Taylor raced to the scene of an active shooter in a neighborhood, entered the house without any backup at all, and shot and killed the murderer. Turned out to be somebody with a lot of bad past, saving the lives of 4 civilians. Officer Rust, we salute you and your remarkable courage. You are a great gentleman. Stay up here with me, okay? Say it. Come on. Say a couple of words.
Thank you. Thank you. You'll have to forgive me. I'm much more comfortable in the situation Mr. President described than being up here. It's a tremendous honor for me to be here. I appreciate everything IACP has done for us. My family, my wife Amber is here. She's been a tremendous support as well through this whole thing. It's been a very humbling experience for me, and it's been an honor to be spoken in the same breath with the other 3 officers that are sitting over there today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Stay right here. Thank you, sir. That was a good job. He'll be running for office soon. You watch. Thank you very much. Last May, Officer Mark Dallas was on duty at Dixon High School in Illinois when he heard gunshots. Within, listen to this, 3 seconds, he was at the scene right outside the auditorium where the entire senior class was gathered and was in a lot of trouble. The shooter fled and fired shots at him, but Officer Dallas chased him down before a single student was injured. Officer Dallas's son, Joshua, was one of the seniors inside of that auditorium. Afterwards, Joshua said, "I wasn't scared for my life at all because I knew my dad would protect us." How good is that? Thank you. Officer Dallas, where are you? Officer Dallas, come on up here. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So his son had a little confidence in him. That's not bad. That's beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
Public speaking's not my best, but I'm extremely nervous. Mr. President, I appreciate everything, the support you give us, and I'm honored to be here with the IACP, the other nominees. My son said he wasn't scared because Dad was out there. I was dad to 182 other kids in that gymnasium. So I just want to say thank you. I'm honored and blessed to be here. Thank you.
Beautiful story. Thank you very much. That's a beautiful story. And your son was right. In October of last year, Washington State Trooper Nathaniel Dawson pursued a car that violated a traffic law. When the car stopped, two gunmen began shooting at Trooper Dawson and shooting very violently. Despite heavy fire, Trooper Dawson got out of his vehicle and fired back until the shooters ran away and were later apprehended. They were very dangerous criminals. Our streets are safer, and our criminals recoil in fear because of brave officers like Trooper Dawson, and I want to thank you. Come up, please, Trooper Dawson.
Wow, it's a great honor to be here tonight. Thank you all for coming, Mr. President. I think we all would say the same. We're just doing our job, and to be recognized is just extra. So thank you again.
These people have a lot of respect for you. They don't sit down when you're up here, huh? They have a lot of respect, right? That's great. Beautiful. Finally, Sergeant Luis Celis of the Doral, I know it well, Florida Police Department. They are fantastic. Responded to the call that you all read about, big story at the time, that a shooter was in the lobby of Trump National Doral. Can you believe this is happening to me? And I didn't say put this man. I knew what he did, but they put him. Threatening a lot of people that were in the hotel, including the employees. Sergeant Celis entered the building, engaged in a vicious shooting attack, and captured the criminal before anyone was hurt, which was incredible, actually. Sergeant Celis, that was really a job well done. People are still talking about it. It was an amazing job. Please come up.
I guess it's a tough act to follow what the guy said over here. Thanks everybody for being here. My wife, Olga, and congratulations to everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Fantastic. And just to conclude, I have to say in each of these stories, we see the unmatched strength and character and courage of our amazing heroes in blue. Every day, our police officers race into darkened alleys and deserted streets and onto doorsteps of the most hardened criminal. People you don't want to be dealing with, and you deal with them well. Incredible. They see the worst of humanity, and they respond with the best of the American spirit. America's police officers have earned the everlasting gratitude of our nation. In moments of danger and despair, you are the reason we never lose hope, because there are men and women in uniform who face down evil and stand for all that's good and just and decent and right. No matter what threat you face, you never give in, you never back down. You are people of tremendous courage and strength. We appreciate it. Appreciate it. Nothing can break your spirit or bend your will. I've seen it over many years, because you are the proud men and women of law enforcement. We thank you, we salute you, we honor you, and we promise you that we will always have your back, now and forever. We will have your back. So it's my great honor to be with you today, and I thank you, and I thank everyone in this incredible room of heroes, the International Association of Chiefs of Police. You have very, very special, very smart, very brave people, and on behalf of our incredible country, our country that's getting stronger and bigger and richer and just better. We're making it greater, and that's okay. It's greater. We're making it greater. I want to say God bless you, God bless your families, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Great honor. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
As the President departs, our program will resume momentarily. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain at your seats as the President departs. Our program will resume momentarily.
All right, so President Trump in Orlando honoring law enforcement. You may even remember some of those specific instances he referenced as he honored some of those officers from across the nation, Washington State, Illinois, various areas. And you could see they were just happy to do their job, but of course being honored just an extra kind of thing in there. So President Trump's remarks there at the International Association of Police Chiefs Convention in Orlando. Meanwhile, the Hurricane Michael is rapidly approaching Florida, so we'll have more reports on that as we continue to update on weather, and we'll have more on that in the evening and tomorrow as well. But we want to remind you, of course, to follow us and to join us. You can subscribe to our channel right here on YouTube, that red button that says subscribe, and then you can follow us right below at Fox 5 DC on all platforms, so we can catch you again on Twitter, Instagram, and our website, fox5dc.com. So we'll be back with more tomorrow, starting at 11 a.m. Again, we roll on with live and breaking news. Any events that we have coming in, we're going to have it here for you. So with that, guys, we will see you again tomorrow for our stream. Catch you then here on YouTube.